You're listening to Short History Shorts audio, where history speaks louder than images. In the heart of the Cyclades lies the small, sun-drenched island of Delos, a rocky speck in the Aegean Sea that nevertheless played a role far greater than its size would suggest. An island revered in legend, sanctified in cult, fought over in war, and prized for its strategic and commercial value. According to Greek myth, Delos was the birthplace of Apollo and Artemis, children of Zeus and the Titaness Leto. Pursued by the jealous Hera, Leto wandered in search of a place to give birth, finding refuge on Delos, a floating island said to have been anchored in place by Poseidon himself. From this mythic moment onward, Delos was sacred to Apollo, and the island became a major Pan-Hellenic sanctuary, drawing pilgrims from across the Greek world to honor the god of light, music, and prophecy. Religious life here was centered around the great sanctuary of Apollo, adorned with monumental temples, altars, and treasuries funded by city-states eager to display their piety and wealth. The famous Terrace of the Lions, dedicated by the people of Naxos in the 7th century BC, lined the path to the sanctuary with gleaming marble guardians, symbols of devotion and power. The island also hosted festivals such as the Delia, a celebration of athletic, musical, and theatrical contests that reinforced the unity of the Greek world through shared worship. Yet Delos was never merely a place of prayer, it was also a place of politics. In the 5th century BC, Athens recognized Delos's symbolic weight and seized upon it to further its own power. As leader of the Delian League, the naval alliance formed to resist Persian aggression, Athens initially positioned Delos as the League's treasury and meeting place. This decision was steeped in political theater. By housing the League's funds in the sacred precinct of Apollo, Athens cloaked its leadership in religious legitimacy. However, in 454 BC, the treasury was moved to Athens itself, a move that signaled the transformation of the League into an Athenian empire. Nevertheless, Delos retained its importance as a religious hub, and Athenian control brought new building projects and fortifications to the island. The island's strategic position, almost at the center of the Aegean, made it a natural waypoint for trade and military operations. From here, ships could reach Asia Minor, mainland Greece, and the islands of the Cyclades with relative ease. This centrality, combined with its sacred status, meant that Delos often found itself at the intersection of commerce and conflict. During the Hellenistic period, after the campaigns of Alexander the Great fractured his empire, Delos entered a new phase of prosperity. The island was declared a free port, attracting merchants from across the Mediterranean. Goods from Egypt, Syria, Asia Minor, and the Black Sea poured into its harbors, and Delos became one of the busiest marketplaces in the ancient world. Here, olive oil from Athens could be exchanged for grain from the Black Sea, wine from Rhodes, and luxury goods from the east. The cosmopolitan nature of the island was reflected in the diversity of its inhabitants. Greeks, Romans, Egyptians, Syrians, and Jews all maintained a presence here, leaving behind temples and meeting houses dedicated to their own gods. However, Delos's commercial boom was not without its darker side. The island became infamous as one of the largest slave markets in the ancient world. Captives from wars and piracy were brought here in staggering numbers, bought and sold alongside other commodities. Ancient sources claim that as many as 10,000 slaves could change hands on Delos in a single day. This grim trade was tolerated, even encouraged by those who benefited from the island's economic vibrancy, further entrenching its role as a hub of both sacred and profane activity. Roman involvement in the Aegean brought another transformation. In 166 BC, Rome granted control of Delos to Athens, partly as a way to reward Athenian loyalty, and partly to undermine the commercial power of Rhodes, a rival maritime power. Under Athenian administration in this new era, Delos's port expanded further, and Roman merchants began to establish themselves on the island. This prosperity, however, came at a cost. The removal of certain taxes to attract trade destabilized other regional economies, while the influx of wealth increased the island's vulnerability to external threats. The vulnerability was made brutally clear in 88 BC during the First Mithridatic War, when forces allied to King Mithridates VI of Pontus attacked Delos. The sanctuary was looted, Thousands of inhabitants were killed or enslaved, and much of the island's infrastructure was destroyed. Just a few years later, in 69 BC, pirates, emboldened by the chaotic state of the Mediterranean, struck again, inflicting further devastation. Although Delos was rebuilt after these disasters, it never fully regained its former glory. Religious festivals continued, but the bustling trade diminished as routes shifted, and Rome centralized its commercial networks elsewhere. By the early imperial period, Delos had receded from the forefront of Mediterranean politics and economics, returning to a quieter life as a religious site visited by pilgrims and tourists alike. Archaeological remains today speak to its layered history. The grand colonnades and mosaic-floored houses of the Hellenistic merchant elite stand alongside humble shrines, warehouses, and the remnants of foreign cult sanctuaries, such as the Egyptian Temple of Isis and the Samothracian Sanctuary. Together, they paint a portrait of an island where sacred devotion coexisted with the pragmatism and often the ruthlessness of trade. Delos' story is one of constant reinvention, shaped by its unique combination of religious authority and strategic location. It was never just a backwater or a simple holy site. It was a political tool wielded by Athens, a marketplace coveted by merchants, and a prize fought over by rival powers. Even in decline, Delos remained a potent symbol in Greek and Roman imagination, its mythology and history intertwined in ways that reflected the broader currents of Mediterranean civilization. The island reminds us that in the ancient world, the sacred and the strategic were often two sides of the same coin, and that even the smallest patch of land could shape the destinies of empires.